Very good.
when you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, of course,
Nice,
right?
nice.
It was a pleasure meeting you, and good
My
luck.
pleasure.
Have fun.
So, what's the story with this thing? Valtellina, have you been?
I've not been, but I've heard great things. I mean, have you been?
Oh, many times.
I would assume so, right?
So the main thrust of Valtellina is that you sit in right underneath the Alps. On the other side, on the ridge of Valtellina, there's Switzerland on the other side.
Right. So it's a cooler climate, right? Yeah.
It's the Alps,
Right.
basically. And what's really interesting about that area is that they have a lot of shared culture in between. Unlike Tyrol, which is more of a Germanic, the Valtellina is kind of its own little thing. I will say it varies a little bit from Germans to French, but on this side of Valtellina is very, very beautiful and also very dramatic because Valtellina, it's basically on the mountainside. So it's like, we call it goat's land, where you have to go with the mules or goats. Everything is terraces. It's very, very little topsoil. The main things up there is bresaola. So basically, it's dry meat.
Right.
It's beautiful. Or some people call it carne salata. It's a very dramatic because you drive down from Valtellina and you're basically on the top of Lake Garda. So you drive it down.
Right.
On this side, that's Lombardy. You drive on the other side, that's basically the Veneto. That's where Verona is.
Right.
So on the left side of going south, you end up on the bottom where Valpolicella is. On the right side, the middle, it's Franciacorta.
Right.
It's a pretty interesting
Yeah.
place.
Well, and I mean, I think that the wines are much more like elegant representation of Nebbiolo rather than being, tannic like Piedmont for the most part. So
Yeah, but Chiavenasca, it's really about, Chiavenasca, it's basically a subspecies or maybe a varieties of the Nebbiolo.
Right.
Or some people say they're Nebbiolo called Chiavenasca, either way. But it does have all the makeup of it. I think the only difference in between and in this area versus the Barolo region, the Barbaresco region, Roero, because that's the biggest area, is that this is a very limited area of productions. It's very focused.
Right.
Versus in Barolo, you have all the different layer of a Nebbiolo, from the very kind of silky, simple, to the very tannin, aggressive. Here instead, you have the 3 layers, but within the same area. You know what I mean? So one of the more robust, if you will, is the Canua, which is basically about Namarone done with Chiavenasca.
Right.
And then you have the Superiore, which is
So
more
they're doing the same thing where they're drying the grapes and.
Yeah, and this one, they do, because otherwise you're not getting the, obviously, one of the things about Nebbiolo is the skin content is very, very thin, so you don't get a lot of the big pulp. So by concentrated, drying it a little bit, they basically bring it up. But unlike, it does have a lot of the similarity Amarone, but it's lighter. And
Right.
It doesn't have that concentration, even though the methodology is almost the same. It's not quite the same, but it's almost the same. But the grapes, it gives you a totally different result. And it does very well.
Are the skins a little thinner?
Yeah.
Is that why? Yeah. Because that's why you don't get the intense concentration like you get with Amarone. So that makes sense.
The Osetana and the Corvinone tend to be a thicker. Oh, somebody's calling. Not me. All right, so anyway, but it's a very interesting area. It's beautiful, by the way.
Right.
It's not an area that a lot of tourists go to. Italian tourists do.
Right, because they know.
Yeah, it's also because you're only about 2 hours out of Milan.
American tourists all want to just go to Tuscany anyways. So.
Yeah, but I think it's more of the fact that there is so much in between. The thing about the area, I mean, if you think about it, you have a Lake Como. Lake Como is like Florence for people that go to the north side of Italy. It's
Right.
beautiful, everybody knows, because Bellagio. And all the famous people, of course, all that. So if you are in the region, the Lombardy region, you got Milan for the people that like the city, the concert house, La Scala, the Duomo. You got a lot going on.
Right.
There's a lot. And then there's Castello Sforzese, you got the Last Supper. But then if you want something a little different, you go to Lake Como, right? Well, now to go to Valtellina, you have to do another schlep, another 2 hours. If you don't have a specific reason why you go there, you know what I mean?
Which would
Tourist-wise.
probably just be for wine, tourist-wise, right? Like if you're...
So that's one of the reasons why. Well, the people that
So
love
that's why the Italians like to go there, because there's not a bunch of tourists.
Exactly, but also because Italian loves mountain.
Right.
They love a small village with a nice little food. Food is the biggest drive force.
Right.
Actually, it's even more than wine. A lot of people think that Italians travel for wine. Italians don't travel for wine. Wine is, for Italians, is a basic, beautiful companion. And that's why it works so well for the Italian people, because Italian people will go to the Oltrepò Pavese and they'll have Oltrepò Pavese wine. It's like, okay, but most tourists will go there and probably ask for some big name that they read in a magazine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus Italian tourists will go for the food and then they will enjoy everything around that, which in reality makes a lot of sense, right?
No, it does, yeah.
Yeah, culturally it makes a lot of sense. But then that's more cultural specific too, because the tourist coming from out of town, whether it be America or anywhere else, they need a certain informations. And typically, where do you get all the information? You're going to get either from magazine.
Yeah, brochures and
exactly.
travel brochures.
So I don't think Valtellina is the top of any brochure
Yeah, right,
that I know.
exactly.
You know
No,
what
totally.
I mean?
I mean,
So
it's...
that's kind of like where it falls. And you really, I mean, look, before Sicily was very popular. Now, Sicily's been popular since, you know, Inia across the strait from Athens, but only for people they know, right? For many, many years, there was this kind of knowledge that you don't go to Sicily. And I always ask, why? Have you know anything about Sicily?
Well, because you watch too many mobster movies.
Exactly. So I said, well, that's like thinking too much of yourself. Like you land in Palermo and every mafia guy is going to come up to you. Why?
Yeah, no,
Wait,
why?
do you have any
About
connection?
you? No,
right?
exactly.
Doesn't even
They
know you're
couldn't care
right.
less about you.
Right, exactly. So you have to worry about more the gypsy because they're hanging around the airport.
Yeah,
to steal
right.
your
To
shit.
steal everything, right.
So, but then all of a sudden, there was a very smart, very well concert effort by the wine producers as well as Regione Sicilia, which finally got their crap together. And they start making a push because, strangely enough, the larger majority of immigrants around the world are Sicilians.
Yeah.
What's shameful about that is that most Sicilian restaurants, the large amount of wine on the wine list is from Piedmont and Tuscany,
Yeah,
which makes
Tuscany,
absolutely
right,
zero
exactly,
sense.
no
like,
sense.
Like you're not even support your own people. Well, later find out that they do like to support their people, but they don't have the knowledge of it because the region of Sicily, the island of Sicily, didn't do a really good job. Now, a lot of the
I mean, certainly not like Tuscany. I
No,
mean, nobody
but
promotes. No, I don't think anywhere in the wine world
not even
promotes
close.
itself like Tuscany.
Believe me,
right?
not
Like,
even close.
Right.
But even then, the Sicilian themselves, they're not even regional. They're provincial. So if you want to know really what a guy from Palermo feels about a guy from Trapani, ask them.
Yeah.
Now, they'll hate each other. The only time they become really big friend when somebody says Sicilian sucks.
Yeah.
Then it's like, what are you talking about? Like all of a sudden they're brother again. You know what I mean? But soon the guy leaves, then they start fighting again. Because if you are in Palermo, nobody makes the spins like they do. If you are in Catania, nobody makes the spins like they do. The arancino, they make the Sicilian arancino, right? So the rice ball with the meat inside,
Right,
blah, blah, blah. Okay, they will argue every single area of Sicily, which shape is the right shape? Is the cone shape or the round shape? What's inside? What's outside? It's like a dude. First of all, is it really a bad dish to start with? It's a fried...
It's a fried rice ball.
fried rice ball. But having said all that, having said all
Right.
that, oh, they swear by. The caponata, do you serve a cold? Did you serve a hot? Oh, depends where.
Yeah.
So in reality, the biggest problem with Sicilians are the Sicilians because they don't support the island as a whole.
Right.
Where in Tuscany, the opposite is completely
Yeah.
true. They are very good on promoting Tuscany. So they very smart about putting, of course it's a little simpler because you really have a Siena and you got Florence. The other ones, if you ask people, they don't even know what are the other provinces. They don't know there's a Grosseto, they don't know there's Arezzo, they don't know there is maybe Pisa because the tower. But in reality, when you look on some of the issues that Tuscany present, they're very little compared to some of the problem that the Sicilians have. Because in Tuscany, you got Chianti Classico, then you got Montalcino, you got Vino Nobile, and you got Maremma, right? That's it, you're done. Well, what do you have in Sicily? Sicily is huge.
Yeah, right.
It's huge. The north part of Sicily, Palermo, it's basically a Dane heritage. So they're tall, red hair, kind of freckle face, blue eyes, right? Or green eyes. Then you go into the south side from the top of where Trapani is, where all the Salinas are. Those are Arabs. Short, stocky, Marsala, right?
Right.
But actually, they are some of the best wine in that area.
Yeah.
Then you go on the east side, that's Greek. So inherently, they already don't like each other. Right?
Well, right, exactly. And I mean, that's kind of all of Italy as a whole, right?
Yeah,
because Italy was, force unified, right? I mean, it's like you win a lot of bar bets with what's an older country, the U.S. or Italy, and it's the U.S. by almost 100 years.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So.
Well, the things that make the richness of Italy is the fact that they were not unified because they were able to hold all the local tradition.
Right.
So even as an Italian, I can go from my hometown. I can drive to Cassino, which is almost Lazio, already Lazio, right? And we have the same mozzarella di bufala, but we have a different way of making the rapini. We have a different way of making sausage. We have a different. So it's a fun because it's very, very beautiful, preserved tradition.
Right, and that goes along with wine too.
That's right.
So they're all. That's why you're not seeing, the same grapes grown all over
You
Italy.
don't see
Why
Merlot
Italy
and
has
Cabernet everywhere.
So many different varietals, right?
Yeah.
You see Merlot and Cabernet like in Tuscany.
Right. Well, I mean, look, there is a pro and con against everywhere else, but in Sicily is even more because of Sicily, it's a big island. That's really and if you think about it, the center of Italy, the center of Sicily, it's zero. It's all mountain.
Right.
So shepherds and
It's all volcano, basically, right?
And they go shepherd and lupara, pecore and lupara. Pecore is a sheep, and lupara is a shotgun. So when you're up there, it's very fiery. But they do have a good cheese. That I can give you that.
Hey, so welcome back to the Decanted podcast. Good to see everybody again. I'm Rick Craig, your host. Today my guest is chef, owner of Onotria Wine Country Cuisine, Mr. Massimo Navarretta. He's also an old friend, and today we're going to talk about the restaurant business, his journey, and all things food and wine. So enjoy this episode.
Salud.
How's that?
You good? Good. So I was born in a small village between Naples and Rome. It's called Alvignano, which is in the province of Caserta. So our region, which everybody knows in Naples, obviously, and the Amalfi Coast, our region is comprised of 5 different provinces. I am on the north side of the province, so basically about an hour and 20 minutes south of Rome, and about 40 minutes of north of Naples. We are on the Appia Way, which is basically the only way you're going to go to Naples if you want to go to Rome or vice versa. Our area is one of the ancient road for food and wine. We basically were the people that fed Rome during the Roman expansions. In fact, the clear way of the know is this is that a lot of people don't know, but Rome didn't have really a port. They have a small port, Ostia. But Naples, they used to call the Great Bowl because a huge port. And in reality, Naples and the Naples coast was a very rich and fertile areas, not only for commerce, but also for food. We have some of the most beautiful volcanic soil. The north side where I'm from, it's a much more complex terroir that the south side is close to the sea. And we are blessed by the Apennine mountain, which cuts the spine of Italy. So if you look on the geography of Italy, what's so special about it? It's basically 3 parts of water. We are in Peninsula Sea in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, the Tyrrhenic Sea, and the Adriatic Sea. So the spine of the Apennine, where the Italic tribe come from. That's what Italy is. That's my land. That's where we're from. And so we grew up in an area where we always talk about nothing else but food and wine and food and traditions. And most importantly, we cultivate. So I was born and raised on a 200 acres of farmland, combination between the woods and very different from Iowa.
So was your father a farmer?
My whole family,
Okay.
three to five generation
Right.
farmers. More interesting about the way we farm than any other type of farm. Like if you go to the Emilia Romagna, you will notice that's like commercial farming, like a big flat land right on the river. We have the opposite to that. We have the Volturno River, which is the third largest river, but it's not that big. It goes from the Matese Mountain through my town and the south to Benevento, which is the other province, and then it lands into the sea in Naples. So, but the background of that is we have very beautiful rolling hills. And so our agriculture is a very much a mixed agriculture. Today, the people throw people around the words like organic, biodynamic. Well, we call natural because that's the only way we had it.
Well, I mean, right.
That's how we do it. But more importantly is because the landscape doesn't allow you to do monocultivations. Don't have enough water. I remember the first time they actually put the conduit, which is a paradox because think about it, the Romans were the one who built the longest and most prosperous aqueduct in the world,
the aqueduct's
and
right.
it goes through my town, but not working anymore because during the war they bombed it. But even then, there was no water in it. So they created a commercial aqueduct, which is called canaletti, where they bring the water, but those are only to the flatland, which is by the river, and it's very little compared to the amount of rolling hills. So our cultivation is pretty much a mixed cultivation, from olives to regular garden vegetables to national grain. So growing up, it was about be self-sustained. So I didn't get to go to a store to buy anything. I used to sell to stores as
Right.
a family until I was probably 10, 12 years old. And the only thing I bought was a commercial gelato, which actually gave me a stomach ache for 3 days because I wasn't used to it, but I just scoffed it down.
Right.
It was so good, right? So the agriculture part of it, it's an integral story of Italy because a lot of time when tourists go to Italy, they go to Florence and they see Florence as a city with all this beautiful art. But if you go from Florence to Mercato San Lorenzo, which is right inside the wall of the city, is basically you see the real Florence. All the farmers that bring the stuff every day. And the people in Florence, every day, they go buy whatever they need, the vegetable, fruit, meat, everything. And so we are really, first and foremost, an agricultural town, an agricultural country.
Right.
And that's the reason why, in reality, we have this beautiful relationship with food. It's an healthy relationship with food. Unlike, by contrast, when I came to America, every time you talk about Italian food, people tend to magnify some really weird behavior that you see in movies with the Italo-American family where they have all this stuff on the table, they eat for hours and hours, and it's all meatballs and sausage and blah, 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 blah.
Right, big heavy pastas, and
Yeah,
in reality, not all Italians eat like that.
No, not at all. And maybe that during the holidays, maybe that during somebody christening or something, but it's a portion of it because our relationship with food is much more wide, and it kind of, for people like me who grew up in the business and went to school and I'm a master graduated chef and hotelier, it's at first it really bothered me when I came into the country. I find myself in a lot of argument battles with people telling, no, that's not really Italian. So what do you mean? Italian people eat the pasta. Yeah, but not this stuff.
Right. Well, and especially because you were in New York too, right?
Right.
So it was
New
even
York,
magnified
Connecticut,
more.
New Jersey.
Right, exactly. On
Yeah.
the East Coast, there's a lot of Italian immigrants, so it gets kind of more of a, pigeonhole than I think California
Not only that, but
does,
it's
for
like,
sure.
Right. I'm the big guy because
Right.
I eat the meatball, And,
Right.
And the first time I was funny because I work in this little pizzeria and I was looking for fresh stuff and they had the big hot table, right? So the first afternoon, they used to have a meatball grinder, which I never heard of. A grinder to me is something you grind, right? What it was is a big, fat piece of bread, and they take the meatball, they put it in it, the size of a baseball, basically.
Right.
They cut it and then they put a tomato, some cheap cheese, which they call Parmesan, which wasn't even legal cheese. Actually,
Not
I
from
don't know what it
Parma,
was.
obviously.
No, I
right.
don't think it was for cow either. So just to be clear, because I never melted. Basically, it was just granular, and they put lots of it, right? And then they put it in the oven and they baked. And there was a meatball grinder, and I look at the guys like, wow, that's a lot of meat. No, let me show you. It's like, oh yeah, and I see these guys take all the bread from the tables at night. They want people to eat it, which is completely illegal.
Oh God, yes,
Yeah.
right.
And then they put them in a bin. They get hard as a rock, and then they put milk and garlic powder and onion powder. And I'm looking, what the hell is he doing? It's like, this is gastroterrorism.
Processed.
And then they make it. They basically then they take a little bit of the meat and the fat and the trimming and all that stuff. And here you have a bread bowl with the smell of meat.
Right.
No wonder why when they put them in hot water, over the day, it became bigger and bigger. But by the time the day went by, that thing was like a double the size. And I'm thinking, who eats this?
Right.
Well, I was wrong.
Yeah,
because
everybody ate it.
Everybody.
Well, part of that is because they didn't know any better, right?
Right.
So,
well, also because they were validated by the exuberance of the people going there. Because it was more about the connection to the culture than the food itself, the
Right.
quality. It was a way of to show your nationality. I'm Italian, I'm proud. This is my buddy. I remember this guy, Gabriel, was my best friend. He owned the restaurants, Gabriel, on the Post Road. And everybody walks in there, hey, yo, Gabriel. He was a classic. He played that part so well.
Right.
The low
typical
tone
maitre
voice.
d'.
Yeah.
Like...
How you doing? How's it going? How's the kids? Oh, they're doing good. Yeah. Oh, Gabriel, you garlic bread, the best I ever had. And I'm thinking, there's no garlic.
It's like garlic salt.
What is that? And so it's funny because in my simplicity at the time.
And you were how old when you came to the country and started?
22.
So 22. So
Yeah.
you're a young man.
Yeah, we just worked in La Serre in Paris.
Right.
Work in La Châteauneuf de Fleur d'Alise. I work in Le Fontanelle with one of the greatest chefs of all time, Carnacina. We're doing things like, and I never seen this. This is like, if you really want to kill somebody, you just cook that stuff and I'm going to murder you. So
Right.
in the meantime, this guy, he owns 5 houses. He's got a Cadillac and a Ferrari in the garage. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with all this?
Right.
Because
Well, I'm thinking like, why would you leave what you were doing to come here? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is terrible. And then you see this guy's house and his car. And it's like, okay, that's why I came here.
And I'm thinking, if this guy can have all that with that crap, do you imagine if I make a good food?
Yeah, right.
That
exactly.
was my first mistake.
Right. Yeah, well,
Because,
good food costs more.
yeah. So if you ever saw the movie, The Big Night,
I don't think I have seen that.
well, that was one of the very first movie. It was made with, what's his name of the guy who just did the Conclave? The Italian guy, the bald, who did the meat in Italy, Tucci.
Oh, Stanley Tucci, yeah.
So the big guy was about his 2 brothers from Italy, right?
Right.
And in a little town in New Jersey, across the street from very popular Italo-American restaurants. And the guy is trying cooking the real food. So there's a scene when he sends out the risotto with the seafood, the risotto di mare. And this fat big lady from New Jersey is get to say, she says, but there's no seafood here. What is the vongole? Like, what is the guy goes, it's in the rice. Like, what do you mean it's in the rice? I don't see it. So the thing is that it makes it so real that after a few years I learned the hard way that you first have to make the right stuff, but also you have to make it for the right people. And secondly, you don't want to fight the romance, the nostalgia. In other words, I never talk bad about grandma, anybody's grandma, right? Especially one from New Jersey or Chicago.
No.
My grandma used to take 10 hours to make the sauce, and I'm thinking, why? What happened to the tomato? Were made out of steel? Where we do a sugo in Naples, it's about 18, 20 minutes, just quickly,
Right.
So anyway, I'm thinking, wow, if we do the right thing, that's going to be amazing. I can have 10 houses, right? Not that I want them, but I could.
Right.
Well, so I went to this place called Denny's. Denny used to come pick me up in the morning. I lived in a little town, Hamden, I got to go through Boston Post Road and what was it? Dixwell Avenue. We go through downtown, the downtown in New Haven. There is Yale University, so Temple Street.
Yep.
So he picks me up, and it's cold as hell. I can't stand that stuff. So he takes me to this place, and he introduced me to the chefs. This guy's got a cigarette with about this much ashes, and he's making his famous dish.
Yeah.
It was the steak ubriaco. That means the drunken steak. And I'm thinking the secret sauce must be the ashes.
Yeah, right.
The smoke flavor, And I'm thinking everything I learned, everything I had done. And at this point, I'm already a graduated master chef, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking everything that I will absolutely fire somebody. This guy is everything.
Right.
He's like a classic poster boy for don't
Everything
ever come in
you're
the
supposed
kitchen
to do,
again.
right, exactly, right.
He's got greasy uniform. He goes outside, he come inside with a cigarette, he just cooking. So
I just have the image of like Michael Kang at 5 foot when you said that, man, with the ash on the
it's
cigarette
just
while
crazy.
he's cooking.
Drive me nuts. So I go in there and I call this guy, Denny, nicest guy. He used to work on a merchant ship. He landed from Panzano, from Ponza, the island of Ponza. He goes, Mas, I never cooked. I cooked on this boat with a bunch of, sea people. And then I came here and I learned how to make a dough, and he opened a Denny Express. He had 9 restaurants. It's a cash cow. This guy was making money. But he's a good man, a really hard-working man.
Right.
He's the kind of guy that you wish nothing but the best, because he's the owner of 9 different restaurants. He's 5 o'clock in the morning. He's up. He goes in a restaurant, wash the bathrooms, this and that. So I had a big admiration for this guy, except for his personnel. So I walk in the kitchen. He goes, so this is this. And I look around and I look in the refrigerator and I said, Denny, can I ask you a question?
And this is like what year?
1979.
1979, okay.
I said, Denny, can I ask you a question? He goes, what is it? Well, I said, I don't speak very good English. I will really like English before I walk in the kitchen. So if you want, I don't mind to wash dishes, because I didn't tell him anything about being a chef. I just tell him I was from Italy, And I go, but if you don't mind, I'd rather work in a dining room, because I want to see, basically I want to learn about the people.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, there's got to be a reason why this guy has 9 restaurants, because this is the kitchen, the same kitchen he has here, he has everywhere else. So there's got to be a reason. So it cannot be just that people get abused and everything is okay. They must be willing to be abused. They must like this.
Right.
So I work as a waiter, as a busboy waiter. And I learned something very fundamental. The people came there, first of all, people didn't go out to dine. They went out to eat, which is different.
Right.
Right. There was soon they sit down, they got a basket of a garlic grease bread.
Right.
And they were like gone, like a shark attack, excuse me.
Well, I mean, it goes back to what you said, because that's how everybody thinks that Italians actually eat when it's not true.
So it doesn't hurt that we're a pretty large sized people, just to start with. That's Connecticut, okay. So you have to weather the storm of the weather. So I was terrified. Anyway, but I had fun, because I finally started practicing my English, and I had a very good lady work outside. Rita was wonderful. She was very patient, like, hey, boss, I teach you whatever. It's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I had actually a decent English. I didn't have bad English, but I didn't have a great English. But yeah, I faked it well. So one day, I go to a friend of mine that I met over the time, and he goes, hey, I have somebody I wanted you to meet. And I said, who is it? It's like, well, this guy owned a gas station right next to where I lived, and he's from my hometown, which is the area of Connecticut is very much from my hometown, the whole area. So he goes, yeah, I'll introduce you to this guy. His name is Gabriel Villano. He's the nicest guy. So, okay, yeah, sure. So I meet him 9 o'clock in the morning, my day off. This black Cadillac comes in, right? Mustache, big guy, beautiful camel coat. How you doing? My name is Gabriel. It's like, Gabriel, parla italiano? Yes. He just speaks, oh, sure. Well, he spoke in dialect, not even Italian, my dialect.
Right.
We start talking. He goes, so where are you from? And I told him, I'm from Alvignano. That's, oh, great. He goes, what did you work? I said, well, last job I did before I finished my military, it was at the Belvedere of Casa Joe. Casa Joe is a little town in between. He goes, really? huh, how long you worked there? And I told him, what I was doing there. I was a sous chef. And he goes, great. He goes, what about tomorrow? I'll meet you on the same time here. I said, well, yeah, sure. So he comes next day. Get in the car. He goes, I spoke with my cousin, Luigi. He says, when are you going to go back? They're waiting for you. It's like, what do you mean waiting for me? I can do it. It's like, by the way, Luigi Villano, that's my cousin. He owns the hotel, he owns the restaurants. I'm glad he didn't lie. So what would I lie? I said, well, everybody lies when they come to America. Yeah. They're all the son of a prince. They're all like some super chef, whatever. But he said, no, actually, you play the low card. I don't understand. He goes, but I want to show you something. It's like, what is it? So I told him where I worked, right? So I said, well, I'm opening restaurants in New London, Connecticut. And it used to be a church. I want to turn it to Italian Gardens. But it's a big restaurant, so I needed somebody of your quality to take care of it. I said, Gabriel, I want to tell you something. I'm working over Denny's place. I can't work in a kitchen like that. That food is, no, you do whatever you want. It's like, really? So that's how I started.
So he actually let you cook your food.
Yes.
Right?
And so
let me ask you, when you were working for Denny's, like, what were these wine programs like? I mean, is it all like Chianti in a wicker basket?
No,
like...
worse than that.
Okay, worse than that.
So there were 3 bottles of wine sold of those days. Was the Corvo Salaparuta, red and white, not the good stuff, and then the fish verdicchio. Remember the fish the Fazzi Battaglia?
Yeah.
And then the Chianti Mellino, the brigadiere, the policeman, in the bottle, and then of course the
wicker
Chianti,
basket, yeah.
everybody. But it was so.
Small little Italian wine glasses like you see in every mobster movie. There was no program. There was just some wine.
No. And actually, the truth to be told, there was no wine by the glass program at the time. There was just like, because the bottle of wine probably were, I can't remember, were $8, $9, $10.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So why?
And there was not even a lot of wine sold because most of those places, at least the pizzerias and all this, because at the time, the Italian food was basically relegated into the pizzerias and the little mom and pops.
Right.
If you want to go to, which I did, if you want to really start cooking and you want to see a wine program, you got to go what the time used to call continental restaurants. So the continental restaurants was an upscale Italian, French kind of base.
Yeah.
So
kind of like a hybrid.
Yeah, and that's when you saw the wine list. So then you start to see some Brunello. You saw a few Barolo. And then mostly were Burgundies and Bordeaux's. California, almost zero.
Yeah, I was going to say at that time, yeah, it was probably...
No. I remember maybe 5, 6, 7 years later, a few minor brands like Mondavi.
Yeah,
but
BV and...
Yeah, but it was not something that was like, oh my God, I'll have a California.
Right. Well, I think it was before Napa really had its moment in the sun.
Yeah,
so.
But also because the East Coast was always being on the upper side of the scale, of the economic scale, it was Burgundy and Bordeaux.
Right.
So Burgundy was more like the traditional New Englander, they were a Burgundy kind of people. And then you had the finance group out of New York, they were Bordeaux people.
Were Bordeaux,
yeah.
right.
So that's kind of where they fall. And the few Italian that really matter, believe it or not, La Scolca was one of them. So the Gavi de Gavi, the black label, was about, at the time was like $14,
Yeah, right.
$50,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And then you had the Brunello Biondisanti was the wine. They're up here, which was pretty legit. And then there was some, I think Mascarello at the time or some, but not a lot of presence, to be honest with you.
Right.
If you find one or two, even an Italian, like there was a couple of good Italian restaurants. When I say good, the continental kind.
Right.
And they still sold a lot of, because also Bordeaux at the time, like you could buy $150, which was a lot of money. You could buy Lafitte. So
Yeah, right, exactly.
So it was like, okay.
Can you imagine paying $150 for Lafitte in a restaurant?
Not even a Coke.
Yeah, no.
But that was the only place you could really start cooking, like really cooking. And then I got really lucky because I was because I was doing my immigration paper and everything else, I was almost thinking about, okay, I'm done with this place. I'm going back because this is it's too long. It's a bottle, especially in Connecticut, it was a bottle that you really won't win because one of the things that people were kind of like making it very social, like, oh, I'm a blue collar, this is blue, it's like, okay, this is food, it's bad food. If just because you're blue collar, you don't have to eat this. This is not necessary. But I got lucky because this guy, Johnny Del Monaco, who owned one of the Italian more well-known restaurants, he goes, I cannot afford you in my restaurants, but there is a place in Derry in Connecticut. The French chef just quit. It's called Twin East, and that's a place you want to go. It's like, oh, okay. So I went there, and of course, that's where I really started cooking. Finally, I realized it's something very special. My suggestion.
Did you have, like, was the owner somebody who was willing to, like, let you be a chef?
Well, they took the recommendation of John.
Right.
Johnny Del Monaco was like a legigendary restaurateur at the time.
Right.
Italian restaurateur. He says, oh, I recommend Massimo.
Right.
He's the guy you want. And so I went, basically the way it worked was I went there, talked with these two brothers, two Armenian brothers, they're called Twin East, the two twin brothers. And the guy goes like, so they start interviewing me. I said, listen, can I ask you questions? Can I see the menu? So, can I go to the kitchen, talk with whoever's left? 32 people working in the kitchen, big kitchen.
How big was the dining room?
They had 5 dining rooms,
Okay.
a bar, and a full discotheque, which
wow.
they do happy hour, 350 people. Pretty big production.
Yeah, no.
Which was basically, but it was not my scale because I came from hotel.
Right.
So I saw the menu. The menu was really pathetic. It was a classic French, what they call at the time continental, cravette, a l'américaine. And it's basically cocktail sauce with the boiled shrimps.
Yeah. Crudité.
So it was nothing of exoteric.
Right.
They had a very popular dish that everybody did at the time, a Veal Oscar, which is basically a veal scallopini in a hollandaise sauce, crab, and asparagus. Like, okay, whatever. Oh, it was huge. Everybody out the Veal Oscar. I said, people just couldn't.
Right.
Well, the thing about continental cuisine was you take a classic dish, you modify a little bit, and you give them a fancy name. Like we had this scallopini, Marie Antoinette. People ask me why they cut their heads off. I said, no, that.
And wasn't Marie Antoinette from Austria? If I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, but
so
it
like,
didn't matter.
okay.
It didn't matter. So
Yeah.
we do a lot of that stuff. Like you do little cognac quails, and you call
Right.
Louis XIII.
Like Steak Diane or like, right.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
And this is the day where we used to do a lot of the table side,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, and so I said to the guy, okay, listen, before we finish going into any conversation, I go down in the kitchen, so I talk with the people. So I talk with the people. I saw the restaurant was beautiful, gorgeous. They spent millions of dollars. And I go downstairs. They had a big, big walk-in box, walk-in freezer. I mean, amazing. And I met the sous chef was a young American kid, kind of, chicken without head, but he's, he was willing. So he introduced me to the whole stuff, and I said, can I see the menu? He says, oh, by the way, chef, we have an event tonight. I said, how many people? Oh, about 50 people. Oh, okay. I said, can I see their menu? I look at the menu. I was like, okay. Escargot, oysters, okay. And then the same old 3-4 things, veal chop with the mushroom and fondina. Like,
Marsala sauce.
Yeah, it was like, okay. I said, tell you what, I got my stuff in the car, so I change, I come back. I'll help you out tonight. He goes, oh, chef, thank you. Okay. I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you my method. So the order comes in. I call the orders, right?
Yeah.
You got to make it. When I call the fire the order, that's when you guys actually start cooking, and then you give it out. We'll take care of it. Anyway, we did the things very quickly, smooth. Everybody's like, oh my God, we never worked like this. It was so.
But you didn't actually change the menu. You
No.
served what was
We
on
served
the
whatever was on the
Right,
menu.
right.
Yeah, it was nothing to serve. It was
Right.
just simple stuff. This guy go already came.
Right.
You put the garlic butter,
Yeah,
It comes in a little trillion. And everybody.
Right.
At the time, they thought it was so cool. Fry frog legs with nice little tartar sauce.
Yeah.
It was nothing special. Anyway, we got done. So that's when they called me upstairs, and he goes, "So, we heard you're pretty brilliant." It's like, well, thank you. He goes, "So, what's going to take for us to hire you?" That was the interview. I said, "Tell you what, whatever you were paying him, you pay me, and I'll take the job tomorrow. I'll come in to work." I haven't given the other guy my notice yet. Not that I have to, but So I was illegal. So the guy goes, that's doable. You go, okay, let's discuss the term. I say, I just want to let you know up front, I am doing my paperwork for the immigration. However, I'm finished yet, so there might be issues that, no, she goes, no. He goes, well, we'll be fine. So that's when my fortune kind of changed, because I got to finally do what I love to do, which is cooking amazing food. Now we were ordering the right product, we were changing the menu, and I did something very interesting that it changed my life, the way I approach culinary art. Those days, the kitchen and the dining room will be connected by a maitre d'. But when you have a maitre d' that is really not that educated in quality of food and wine, everything lost in translation. So you have this animosity that it was one of the main problems why the French guy was full of ego, obviously, and the maitre d' had no idea what he was talking about, so they fight all the time.
So there's a disconnect between the front of the house and the back of the house.
So first of all, there was no communication about what dish you're serving, what you're promoting, and everything else. So I made this beautiful strongola preti, it's called. Strongola preti literally means choking the priest, because the priest is they love it so much they eat the fast, right? Basically, it's a gnocchi made with sheep ricotta and spinach.
Okay.
It's done in a beautiful little spinach sauce. So I called Mario, the maitre d'. I say, Mario, this is the strongola preti, like gnocchi. What's a gnocchi? It's like, well, gnocchi is basically a little potato pillow, but this one is done a little bit of variation with it. So I went through the explanation, right? He goes, chef, they're green. Like, yeah, it's made with spinach. Yeah, but they're green. Like, yeah, but it's made with spinach. What do you want me to be? Have you seen a red spinach?
Exactly.
He goes, yeah, but here people like tomato sauce. I said, well, listen, Mario, people, if you know how to present it, they will give a try. I don't know about that. So I'm in about an hour in the service. I haven't even sold one dish. I'm thinking, that's wrong. Something's wrong. So I go in the dining room, packed, and they're eating, everybody's happy. So they see me with the white cloth, so everybody's like, what's going on? So I went to this beautiful table, like 8 people, a couple pretty large ladies. I go, oh, buonasera, signora. Oh, you're from Italy? Yeah, yeah, I'm from Italy. I'm the chef. My name is Massimo. Oh, my gosh, that's beautiful. And we got very chatty with my broken accent. They were very charming by. I said, Signora, I want you to taste this beautiful special I made tonight. I want you to taste it. I want your opinion, honest opinion. Sure. So I told Mario, go in the kitchen. Tell the guy to send me one order of the strongola preti. Brings the dish out. Lady says, oh my God, it's beautiful. I said, yes, taste it. She turns to the husband. He goes, sweetheart, now, this is the best thing I ever put in my mouth. He goes, sweetheart, you love it. Let me taste it. So it's like, chef, why don't we know about these things? This is delicious.
Right, because
bring it out.
The maitre d' isn't telling anybody.
We sold that same order. From that order, we sold over 35 immediately, like this. Everybody in the restaurant,
right.
What are they talking about? Yeah, taste. So that's the reason why I never went back and stayed in the kitchen. I came out and went to the dining room every single night to say hi to the people. And by the way, I make more than $2,000 in tip. By the time I went back in the kitchen, people just shake your hands and loving it.
Yeah, just giving
and
you
so
money.
I realized that the most important thing about whatever we do in the kitchen, it's about communicating correctly and enthusiastically to the consumer, because the consumer wants to know, needs to know, likes to know, but you have to know how to do it.
Right. You can't have a disconnect like you're saying. Like, I mean, the front of the house and the back of the house has to be together. They have to work as a team. And, I've always said, restaurant service, it's like choreography, right? Like, I mean, it's got to be a dance.
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of it when it works really well,
the other things,
right?
in the wine business, the same thing.
Yeah.
You get a guy, a sommelier, that is in love with the Burgundy, and that's what he want to sell. Well, you got to read the room. Read the room.
Right.
So, because if you got people that love Cabernet, well, maybe you don't want to sell Cabernet, okay, but sell something similar, something close to it. Because on the end...
Or turn them on to Brunello, or turn them on to...
Exactly.
Right.
So what do you really want? You want people to love and trust what you do.
Yeah.
Well, if you just gonna ignore what they like and ignore what's important to them, where are you gonna go next? Nowhere, because
Right.
they're gonna say, "Oh, Jim's wine list," and they're gonna go to whatever they have. So the same with the food. So what I learned from it was that Mario really liked tomato sauce.
Right.
And when he saw the green, it was appalled by it, so he let his bias
Right.
get in the way instead of listening to what I was saying.
Right.
Because, when you go outside and you say somebody, I have a gnocchi, people say, what's gnocchi? Well, it's a beautiful pillow of potatoes and spinach. Very soft and elegant. It comes in a very rich and light spinach sauce. Now they want to eat it.
Right. Of course.
But if you go there, I don't know, it comes in a green sauce. Like, okay.
Right.
It's St. Patrick's Day already?
No, and it's just like if you're trying to lead them to a different bottle of wine and you're
Exactly.
explaining the wine and you know the story of the producer or something like that, you want customers to be engaged with what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, look, whether you sell food, you sell wine, you sell stories,
Yeah.
right? And you don't want to lie to people. You want to make it enthusiastic for them. You want them to be a part of the story. You want them to be kind of feel the little bit of the wind of Tuscany or the wind of Burgundy. Because at the end, you're trying to entertain them in a very soft way. But if you're going to turn your nose because somebody likes Burgundy and you don't, well, then again, you're like, get this guy out of this table.
Well, and I think that was still like the era of like the Psalm with the Testament, and, like the whole like
No, the maitre d' were the worst.
arrogance. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
no, the maitre d'
That
were the
was,
worst. It's like
know,
you're
so-
taking a surgeon manager and telling you a general today. All of a sudden, you start shooting everybody. It's like, Mario, come back here. So, so what I did is, it was very, very incredibly how things quick turned because the people start saying, hey, Chef Massimo's in tonight. We want to talk to him. What's going on? So that's when I called the sommelier and the maitre d'. I said, listen, let's do this. Tell me, which wine that you have that you want to pour in display? You want to bring it up. And I'll make the food that will go well with that
Right.
wine so that when we go out, we go as a team.
Right.
Right? So if somebody is in a mood for Bordeaux, and specifically left bang or right bang,
Right,
and they say,
yeah.
oh, by the way, Chef Massimo made this beautiful lamb chop. A little mustard,
pair-
red wine, it
pair
goes pair very
perfect
well,
with-
some
yeah.
black truffles. So now you're whispering in the people's ears that something special going on for you. You want to take advantage of this. And all of a sudden it becomes so symbiotic. We were turning numbers like we're crazy, but also I get to make the food that I love. I get to make the dish, so I didn't have to call Continental anymore. It was my cuisine.
Right.
And that's when I realized, okay, am I not gonna have 9 restaurants because I don't want them anyway?
Yeah, right.
I really don't.
I mean,
But
those of us who have owned one restaurant
we
know that you don't want to have 9.
So,
like-
but what I can do, what is possible to do, is to bring honesty and go back to the fundamentals, what I love about cooking.